Hi, friends.
Hey
Wel-
y'all.
Welcome to another episode of Seeds to Healing.
Back
As
at
you guys can, yes, we are back and we're excited. As you guys can see, we have a special guest here, my sister from another state. She's not actually my sister, I just like to say that. Uh, Kenya McCall.
yeah. Hello. Round of applause. I was kidding.
If I had the button, I would push it.
It would have been
We need to
great.
get one. We need to get one. Yeah, so we are having a special guest today, which I'm super excited about, and we are going to be talking about grief and jumping into that um and having a conversation about it. So thank you guys for tuning in. So Miss Kenya,
Hey,
how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
Grand. This is the first time we've had a guest with only two screens, which is cool.
Yeah, I know. I mean, this is my first time ever being on a podcast, so
Ooh, welcome to the world.
we really need sound effects. My
I
goodness.
know.
Yeah,
It's all
sound
quiet.
effects.
Right. All right. Um, yeah, so let's just jump on in. Do you want to share as much as you feel comfortable with your story and what grief has looked like for you?
Um, I guess, born and raised in Vegas.
Mhm.
I am a fraternal twin to seven other siblings, and same mom, same dad. So, there was, none of that baby mama, baby daddy drama stuff. So, we all had the same daddy. So don't ask questions about that because it's the same daddy. And it was during pandemic, COVID slash era. And my dad was working for UMC Healthcare for over like 30 plus years. And he unexpectedly like got COVID, and I thought he's gonna bounce back, dad's gonna bounce back for this, because when you look at him and if you met him, like he was just that type of person, like nothing would try to take him out. Like he was just like, nah, I'm not gonna be a punk, and I'm not gonna go out like that.
Mm.
And unfortunately, he ended up did passing away October 28th of 2021. Mm-hmm. And it has been an adjustment more than a process, is what I have started to say, because it really is an adjustment. And losing another family member, is just, it hits different. And
Hmm.
it hits different from, it's like a dog, that people, not saying that your dog's family, I'm not saying that, it's just not, it doesn't compare, but it's just like it's a whole different field, losing a parent and a sister, and like being like 2 years, 3 years apart,
Mm.
and a month away from each other's passing. And it's, yeah, I had to continuously kind of like live without, like, doing major achievements and major milestones without my dad. And my dad was pretty much like my best friend. um we spilled tea together all the time, and he would just give me the best advice, even though like we didn't really see each other a lot because of work. But we connected so much on just spending one-on-one time together, and
Mm.
movie, and just hanging out and then being each other's company. So it's been a major adjustment, is what I
Mhm.
could.
I
For
like to hear
sure.
about an adjustment rather than a process. Um, can you explain a little bit about what you mean by that for people who have experienced grief and maybe see it as a process instead of an adjustment?
When because sometimes you just feel like a process you have to go through, like getting a passport. That's a process. Then go
Mm.
background check, you're waiting a few months, you
Hmm.
know, passport comes in and stuff like that. But when you it's when you are living with someone and it's just you two, you're used to that presence being around.
Mhm.
And so you literally have to adjust yourself, not picking up the phone and calling that phone number. You have to make an adjustment of not walking into his bedroom, knocking on the door to see if he's gonna be in there.
Mhm.
And make adjustments of like, I'm gonna call dad today. It's like, you know, it's like the daily routines of things that you have to adjust rather um waiting for like a passport to cover the mail. Like
Mm.
that's a process.
Yeah.
And background checks and stuff like that. It's a process. It's a weird analogy, but that literally just came to me because it's like that's like the perfect way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's an everyday daily routine. So like it's an adjustment.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That sounds like being proactive with your grief rather than
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
and like when you say process, right? Like it makes me think like I'm not just checking off the boxes like
Yeah.
like some people do when they go through a grief process. They might check off the boxes,
Yeah.
like okay, plan their funeral, had the crying fits, whatever, checking
Yeah.
off the boxes. And instead you treated it like an adjustment of like, all right, I'm going to be active in moving forward and also
Yeah.
and instead like understanding and internalizing for myself what it looks like
Yeah.
to not have him part of my daily routine anymore.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
it's huge.
It was like that for a little bit, checking off the boxes until one of my best friends told me, like, he said, you have to feel every single process. You have to
Mhm.
feel every single thing of every stage with the grief. And the first time I truly experienced grief was my older sister passed away. And that was just kind of like, it was weird. And it was just like, this never would have thought it would come to my family. You don't think
Mhm.
these people close to your family, like, they're the Incredibles. Like, they just don't die. Like, they're just the ones that just last forever.
Yeah.
And I most definitely did that with my sister, just checking off the boxes to like, yeah, I cried. All right, check. I am telling people I'm okay, check. And
Mhm.
um, so that was like a learning lesson for sure. And then when dad happened, I made myself literally adjust and process every single feeling that I was going through. And being okay with telling people I'm not okay. I'm not. I'm not. I am doing absolutely horrible right now.
Mhm.
And there's days where I'm good, there's days
Mhm.
where I'm good, but then there's those days it's like when I want to beat somebody up, he's the first person I want to call. I'm like, Dad, show up, pull up. I need
Mhm.
stuff, you know? And yeah, once I finally had to be real with myself about it and be like, we're human and we're not
Mhm.
robots.
Mhm.
Mm.
So yeah.
So how has you talked about the processing of your father and your sister were different, or
Mhm.
not the process, but the grieving for both were different because one was a process and one was a transition. When looking now and going through grief again and doing the transition there, has it made you reflect on how you grieved with your sister?
Yes, it was different because
Mhm.
um I was close with my siblings, but my older sister, it was always just kind of like in passing.
Mm.
Um, and that doesn't say like we didn't have a relationship. It was just everybody's lives was just different at some point. And
Mhm.
I was living with someone else at the time. I was living by myself at the time. And I would see her with my mom and my other siblings. So it didn't hit quite yet.
Mhm.
So we were all in the hospital room together. And that was the first time I ever been in the hospital. And it
Mm.
was my sister. Never
Mhm.
been in the hospital. And we all just had to see her just like what she looked like for the last time.
Yeah.
And we were allowed to be in the room at that time. And with dad, it was through a glass window.
Mm.
You couldn't even go in the room, like hold his hand or anything like that. So it hit a lot more different with him because I got to see raw emotion with him in the bed. I didn't like sister, she was pretty much just kind of like not conscious the entire time. But dad, it was like even though he was intubated, he was still like aware,
Mm.
like tears like continuously running down his face. So it was two totally different experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And um even though we all had to be in the room with my sister, I think I more so wanted to be in the room with dad because we had a relationship. So
Mm-hmm. I think I even that I think is a good example of what obviously when grief happens to everybody because it happens at different spheres, right? Different relationships as we're seeing. But it's very traumatic. Like when you talk to people, there's always a lot of first, especially when we're looking at the COVID area. Nobody knew what that was looking like. It was traumatic for everybody, let alone to go through something like this. And then grief on top of it, right? When you haven't been in a hospital or you haven't known anybody to get sick or you haven't really gone through having to lose someone, right? So it's very traumatic and it's a lot of first attached to it and we don't necessarily prepare people, right?
Right.
We just expect them to, when it hits you, you'll deal with it and kind of go off, which I feel like is why it's so traumatic. So not that we need to start people young and be like, this is the truth, but I do think that there comes a time where we have to be open and honest. Like people can go when they're older, people can go when they're younger. And of course, nobody wishes it, nobody knows what's going to happen. It's very traumatic, but having an understanding of I don't want to say a plan because that's a bad term, but just having an understanding of how it works and the support that they can have available to them, just so it's a little bit more cushion, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And I think it's even more complex because one thing that you experienced that a number of people experienced was a COVID loss. And
Hmm.
that so different. It's I couldn't even imagine.
yeah,
Like you explained, not having to see it through a glass. Like so many people had to experience that. And it's unimaginable it also being your father,
yeah,
right?
Hmm.
Like, there's a number of people who lost parents, grandparents, even siblings through COVID, and it's a different experience because you don't get to be there.
yeah.
And I know
Hmm.
that I wonder, did that add to your grief at all? Did it make it harder for you to make the adjustment?
It most definitely did because we weren't able to be in the room and they were not budging about it, which made me really upset about it. And even though he had already at this point was negative for COVID,
Mm.
he was already negative. And we just kept asking, could we just like be in the room? And they were like, unfortunately, like we can't do that. And it was just like, but why? Put me in a glove suit and something like
Right.
put me in a protective suit. Like I want to be in the room with my father.
Yeah.
And it became something very quite difficult to adjust because you hear all these people talk about they're able to be in the room with someone that they love. They're able to hold their hands and have like those last minute conversations. And it was kind of like stories like that. I had to adjust my attitude on because I was just like, that's not the same experience for everybody.
Hmm.
You can't sit here and say that because now it's in a different time. Like,
Hmm.
able to do that. Not a lot of people were able to do that during COVID. They were either in the waiting room, at home,
Hmm.
phone call, and that's pretty much how we found out. Like in a group text message with all the siblings, and we had just left the hospital and they had said he was doing really good, he was stable, like he was climbing to where they would be able to take the tube out. And I don't want to say about like an hour later, 2 hours later, my oldest brother texted and was like, "Dad's heart stopped beating," and I
Mm,
was like, "Let's laugh, but
Mm.
just laugh,"
Mm.
and it hit home like right there. And I was at his apartment while everybody else just kind of like dispersed out. I was like, I don't want to be around y'all because everybody's, siblings can just, everybody has different reactions. And I'm not the type of person, just fall out dramatic, scream, crying like that. Like, I'm like, I rather kind of grieve by myself.
mm,
And that was also a major adjustment. I had to grieve with my siblings together.
mm,
And when with Shanitha, after like we were together for the service, and then kind of like after that, everyone just kind of just went back to doing like the everyday lives. And during that time, I would say the only person that I was really close with like that was me and Kayla. During that entire process, we were at Dad's apartment, like grieving together with Shanitha. And then it kind of happened like that over again with Dad. She came home and we were the ones that was, it was like just back to square one. We were
mm,
we're back to processing another grief together. But now this time everybody is affected in some way.
mm,
And that was a major realization to like, I really do need my siblings and family members. And I really cannot do this process by myself. As
mm,
much as I want to try, I couldn't. And I was like, I want to be around them and we grieve together. So
mm.
yeah.
I think something that you said there is very powerful for people who maybe haven't gone through a certain level of grief to take into part when they're talking about. I think it's something we hear a lot when friends are like, I'm just trying to be there for them and they don't want me around or they don't
I love
want
it.
any help or anything like that. Yeah. Yeah, that people grieve differently and some people need space before they can open up and some people may not like the way that you grieve, right?
Right.
So I think about it as like I have some friends that are a little bit more theatrical than others, and I don't think I would want their theatrics, until later or whatever that looks like. And so I think as friends of people who are going through it in the moment or having a moment where they're returning to that moment, that we have to be able to adjust to the person's needs and not what we
Think.
want them to need. Right.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
that was my issue the entire time. And it's like, if I never told you, give me space, do not give me space.
Mhm.
Especially if I've known you for a very long time and you just like, okay, you like, I assume you want your space. Did I tell you that?
Right.
No, I
Right.
don't. More so, I was like, we don't have to do anything. And that's what people think, that when you say that you need them, you have to do something. For me, I'm the total opposite. No, I don't want to do anything. If I want to just sit here and cry, I want you to sit here and just cry with me.
Mhm.
Just cry with me. Whether it's for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, or maybe 2 hours. That means more to me than anything else.
Mhm.
Than a movie, than getting dinner, than getting food. I'm not at that stage yet to go get food or anything like that, or to get outside the house. I legit want to sit here and cry, and I want you to sit right here with me, and we just go do it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I think that's awesome that you're able to articulate that. I think also what I hear with that too is like having a support system,
yeah,
like having a certain support system that you can go to, you can trust in, and having solid people around you. Because I think that also helps with the processing or with the adjustment too. And I know you had a solid support system around you for sure.
it was a little shaky, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was a little
My
shaky.
bad first.
Yeah, it was. And I love church people. The church people are literally the worst type of people when you go through grieving, because they quickly want to throw scriptures.
Mhm.
And it's like, I know what the word says. Yes, I will see them again. But that does not negate what I'm feeling as a human being. I know that I'm going to see them again. But don't sit here and just throw a scripture at me and then just cover with a band-aid and just think everything's just going to be okay.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, no. And for the first time, I felt like I could be very vocal about that and just say, don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't do that to me. If I'm coming and talking to you and I'm telling you like what I'm feeling and processing,
Mm-hmm.
don't throw scripture at me. Love me right where I'm at and encourage me. I know what the word says. I know what the word says. We all know what the word says.
Yeah.
We all do. But for right now, grieve with me in my moment
Mm-hmm.
of what I'm feeling. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna say like it's my feelings ain't gonna overrun what I'm thinking and all of that stuff. Just in that current situation, just grieve with me. Don't throw scripture. So like I had some church friends that have been solid completely through the entire process. I will say that. And but then it just kind of felt like it started to dwindle just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And people stopped checking in by like I want to say by like months, like 4 months in. People stopped checking in.
Mm.
And that's what I felt like. Okay, so y'all just to show face. And that's not okay. Like it's you to me, I feel like if someone is going through situations like that, I would want to be with them every single step of the way and just kind of like ask them, what can I do for you? How can I be there for you? What are your days looking like? Like, how are you feeling? And I'm gonna say I had one person do that for me. It was Stephanie Collins. And even though she would go literally a day and she'd be like, I can't stop thinking about you. And I'm always here for you and whatever you need. And same thing with like Shrez, Neil, and like Micah. That was just what it was. Like that was my solid core right there.
Mm-hmm.
And people like y'all at GC. And it was just like, I got a solid support system.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. And it didn't like skip a beat.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't skip a beat where I felt like nobody was gonna reach out. Here comes someone else outside of it, like in a different state. He's like, you were on my heart this week and just wanted to text you. That so much.
Yeah. I think as Christians, looking at the Christian twist of all of this, that we have to do better of knowing that yes, facts, feelings aren't facts. So we know, right? Like you're saying, you know, you're going to see them again. You know the word. We know the facts of our faith. But feelings may not be facts, but feelings are very real and they're very in the moment. And that we have to do better about not shimmying off people's feelings by throwing a fact at them. Like, get over it, which isn't true. Like, we still have to work through the emotion. Like, I hope you know that yes, you'll see them again, and I'm gonna sit with you in this hardship because I can't imagine. And I think sometimes what we as Christians tend to do, and this only not only in the grief sphere, but in several spheres, that we just feel like, okay, let me tell you the truth because I don't know what else to say. And I think it's okay in those moments to say, I don't know what to say, but I do know that I want to be with you. And if you didn't know this, well, here's a little help. Like just being able to vocalize, I think Christians sometimes not substitute, they give scripture, which is good, but they substitute it for the emotional connection. So instead of connecting with you and telling you, I'm so sorry and I don't know what to say, but I want to be here with you in this moment, I'm just going to give you the scripture and walk away and feel like I've done my duty as a Christian. And we forget that even in the Bible, Jesus grieved and Jesus wept. And so if he can do that, so can we. And we can step into that with our friends and say, hey, like this is hard. And it's going to be hard until you see them again. So let me walk this line with you and being okay with knowing that, yes, we're Christians and we're human and Christians really aren't that strong. And that's why we got to push on Jesus. And so if you feel that I'm not pushing on Jesus enough, then push on Jesus for more for me. But don't throw it in somebody's face that they're not doing it enough or how you see it correct, because feelings are very real and in the moment.
Yeah.
No, that's good. I'm glad you pointed that out because I think it is something that needs to be made aware of.
Yeah.
When, within the Christian community, it's, I think we get blinders at
Mhm.
times. We have our tradition and our religious responses, and I think it's time to break out of that mold, right?
Mhm.
And understand that sometimes it is different, and sometimes it is more than just being able to have the scripture. And again, like you said, just telling me the facts. I need more than that, right? I need relationship. Like just as much as you want to build a relationship with Christ, how about we build a relationship with me?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And let's not forget that.
Yeah. Because I'm not four walls.
Yeah,
I'm not a four wall.
that's a whole nother episode.
I'm not a four wall building.
Yeah.
But you just have to repeat a script to
Yeah.
being. And it really irks me that we just negate feelings like that because we just just skim over it, and it's just like you can't do that. That's not realistic.
Mhm.
I'm literally telling us to put a band-aid on a wound, excuse me, and then you're just gonna let it fester in the band-aid and we're not gonna take care of it.
Mhm.
And then it grows to fungus, bacteria, to pretty much where we have to just chop it off.
Mhm.
That's not realistic at all. And just like I said, we have got to stop doing that because that's no wonder why people be looking at us crazy. Like, how are you? How are you today? I'm blessed and highly favored. I just wanted to know.
I just want to know, really.
Yeah.
How about a real?
Yeah. Like, how are you today? I'm not getting off. I don't want to be at church. I don't want to be. But to be quite frank, honest, I don't know what else to do, and I don't want to do anything stupid. So
Mhm.
I'm here. You look at me crazy like you want to, but that's the honest truth. I do not want to be at church, but I am at church because don't think I would be doing anything else outside of church.
Yeah. I
I've
think
been
that's it.
in life, and I'm like, I don't even know what to do.
Right.
Yeah, I don't even know
Right.
what to do. So yeah, this whole space I know where to go.
Right. I think that's when our what do you call them, like your circles come in, because one thing that I've had to learn through certain areas of my life is that there are people that you can break down in front of, or people that you can cling to, and when they ask you how you're doing, you can answer honestly. And there's other situations where you can give them a little bit less, and then there's other situations where you just give them a little less. So one of the things that I had been doing, instead of walking around being like, oh, I'm good, I'm great, I should be like, I'm here when I'm doing bad. And then when we get a little bit closer, I'm like, I'm not feeling it today, but I'm here. And then my three that are in the middle, when they ask me, I don't say anything, I just sob, right? So being able to be real with everybody, but as much as I would love for all Christians to get that feelings are facts, I think your demonstration of the wound in the band-aid is what a majority of them have done, and they have blocked off parts of their emotional heart that they can't process that information. So they feel like, well, I blocked off that heart, so you need to block off that heart and just know that you'll see them again and walk away. When the truth is that you were never supposed to harden that part of your heart. It's supposed to be operating, but because it's so cut,
Yeah,
you're just, that's
yeah,
it.
yeah. And no, but it's so fast because then you get people on the platform who I don't want to say fabricate, but they just make it seem like it is all sunshine and rainbows
Hmm.
and a leprechaun at the end with a bucket of gold. And it's just
Mm.
like things all good, and I'm just skipping through the lands you're living. I'm not. I'm walking through rocks and sandstorms right now.
Hmm.
I'm down a rock here. Like I'm no. And just like how you just said, like there's certain people, I'm here, and then you have that fourth people, you just stand there and you just sob.
Hmm.
And it's just the ones that they just, it's not they don't say nothing. Like, hey, what's wrong? Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. You already know what's wrong. You in my group. Let's talk about. I'm just be with you. I'm having a hard day. I really don't have to say much. Me crying is already a reaction of what's going on, and it's just been a struggle.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Hmm.
All right. So on that note, we're actually gonna take a break and we'll be right back.